Hey guys, Turok. You see the title? I'm recording this and streaming it right now to talk about the new episode of One Piece that came out last night here in the US. I don't know how it works in Japan. I don't know their time zone stuff. I think they're ahead of us, right? Uh, Goddamn, there's a lot to talk about in this episode. This episode is so epic. So, where am I here? So we covering One Piece 1071 today, which covers this is spoilers for the new episode if you haven't seen it, and we are covering what chapter is this? 1044, I believe, is the manga chapter this covers. Um, it covers it perfectly, and as well elaborates exactly everything we need to that makes this made the chapter so great, but it puts it into this is an episode where I'm glad animation exists because typically with these with the manga, I prefer to read the manga rather than the anime. It's just quicker. I like to see the original artwork and sometimes because sometimes there's even some changes are sometimes done. Like I remember I was reading Fairy Tale, reading or watching Fairy Tale, or both, a few years ago. Excuse me, I had some juice, and there was a change. I remember in that first or second episode where they showed something that wasn't in the other one, and I was like, "Wait, why? That's kind of weird." It was a little change, so it didn't really matter. But I prefer to read the manga first, and then go to the anime. Now I don't always do that because, like, I just last what was it back in May or June, I binged watched that anime of Danger in My Heart, and last month I was watching Hell's Paradise, and I know they both got mangas, so I'll probably go to read those at some point still a little bit anyway to get the idea, to get the context in the original form. But that being said, when you got an episode like this is this amplifies and improves stuff that, especially with sound effects and music, that you can't get in the you just don't get in the manga. Someone else was saying that. I was watching someone else's review, and he just read Eddie's lobby, and he's going into the anime a little bit, but only he's touching it. And he pointed out too, and I'm glad he's doing that because this is a series that is better for that in some ways. Same with Dragon Ball Z. Like you go into Dragon Ball Z, the Super Saiyan 3 transformation is so much better, and Vegeta's Super Vegeta transformation, his Grade 2 Super Saiyan in the Cell Saga, that was awesome in the anime. They did not. They used that scene is still one of my favorites to rewatch. So, tangent. So we get this. So we get the. How does this start off? Let me play it here quickly. I got some. And this time I'm not gonna. Last time I played this on here, but then I couldn't. I got copyright stuff showing up on my when I did it and upload the video. So I'll just be doing images today. I took a whole bunch of screenshots of this. So this episode starts right where we finished off and elaborates on the transformation much better. It still shows Luffy's heart rate going and his what do you call it? Put this over here so I can watch it. Now I'm gonna have another screen so I can go like that. I'll put this here so I can keep an eye on that. Now I got these screenshots to show you guys. So we start off with I'll go this way a little bit. Hold on. Sit in the middle. We start off with Luffy's transformation, and we see his body changing slowly here to the white. The white doesn't come right away. It like started with his hair, and then it gets in it gets into his let's see, it gets into his hair first. Wait, I forgot to look at this part. So yeah, then that's when he stands up, right? So Luffy, they do this great. Luffy stands up here basically, and he's starting to feel the power of Gear 5. This thing is, by the way, one of the big points I want to talk about. He's really changing. His attitude is completely different here, and watching how they do this in live action, not live action, in animation. definitely exemplifies something that I think it's Doctor. So this is spoilers for if you're not in the manga. Further ahead, we meet Doctor Vegapunk later, and he points out that when you awake, zones awaken, they sometimes lose their sense of self, which is something we saw with the guard in the I think they're called the Demon Guard in Impel Down, and they are these giant zone awakened zones according to Crocodile that and they're completely just animalistic, and they're like a one note thing where they're there to help keep control of the jail, but they don't talk and they don't seem to act like humans anymore, other than the fact they're anthropomorphic and they carry weapons. And Luffy here starts showing some of that here too in this episode. He's really this is something that's almost concerning to me. Also down the line, I'm wondering if he'll become a danger to his friends if they were too close to him while he's fighting a foe when because he's going so crazy with his powers. So anyways, yeah, let's keep that in mind. So I also like that's great about this transformation bit too. They I didn't notice this, but I started watching someone else's breakdown a little bit. It was Tekkings, and he pointed out how they're using a heart rate thing rhythm too. Wait, I should just put up some. If I could just do this right video, play capture. There we go. Yeah. So he's here changing. How do I change that out? Can I just? Never mind. So they use this little heart rate thing here while Luffy's slowly transforming here and his clothing's changing. And I also like that they're lacing this out with Zunisha still watching. They do this shot where they pull him in here, and he's way out there. By the way, I know he's supposed to be miles high, but he doesn't look as big there. So I guess it's just hard to get that right. But it's awesome to see him standing there like this, and he pull. And these are the ones I took. They pull in toward him watching, and so then we get Luffy's transformation here, and he's just bouncing around, and he's starting to have that area effect as he does it, which is great to show. This is something I think is probably unique to his zone, because this is something that was mentioned with Logia awakenings, that they can that they what do you call it, can change the environment around them, and we assume this with like the admirals who are all Logia users, and soon Kuzan, who's not with them, but same thing. There's always that fight referenced by Akainu and Kuzan in the on Punk Hazard. So Luffy here seems to be one where he can do this as well. And that's actually a little tangent, not tangent. This made me think of something too here, where well, I guess we will have to go this way. That I wonder if this happened, like if since Marco is also a mythical zone, I wonder if his area effect would be one where he could what do you call it? Heal people within a radius around him, like a few hundred feet, or maybe like that whole performance floor. He could like transform his power, just keep people around him, or maybe people of his choosing to be healed. It's certainly something cool to think about with his power, because again, the mythical zones we're seeing here with Luffy's is definitely, and it's the same with who was he? A second one, Sengoku's too. We don't know much about what he could do other than he had some fighting prowess with that he was using against Blackbeard. But so yeah, go right about there. So yeah, Luffy's doing his transforming here, and he starts with his bouncing is going on. The white flames are starting to come, and then his clothes he has yet to change. Then he gets up here, and this is great where he's like wondering what happened to him, because this does really. I thought maybe like he wasn't really dead, but this kind of almost implies he was. Or maybe just knocked out cold. I'm not really sure with that. I think he was still alive, unless this really is something awakenings can do, where they can wake you up. They can revive you from the dead, so to speak, or near death. Get a little coffee. So I like to. They show this. They start showing it under the moon here. This is something they kept showing. The moon has been a big fat focal point of this whole arc. I noticed. They were showing it a lot there, and then they had the what do you call it? I think there was this the cloud. They showed with clouds for a while earlier, and then it got cleared up. I think it got cleared up when there was a fight with when I don't know if it was when Big Mom and Kaido were fighting the other five or afterward. But at some point there were clouds that cleared and that had helped the minks here, especially like the dog and cat, be able to transform into their form. Hey, that's just realized when the minks can go into their Zulong form, that's kind of like them being an awakened. That's interesting. I just realized that them being anthropomorphic animal race, and then they can transform. They're kind of like a zone awakening temporarily. Make a note of that later. It's very interesting. Uh, yeah, write that down. So the moon's a big thing they keep showing in this episode where he what's my train of thought? What do you call it? He's the moon, like they show oh, they're using it as like a not a motif or anything, but anyways, yeah, they keep showing it here, and it's really cool how they incorporate it. So then I want to show these images here where like where's the other one? Where we see that Luffy's starting to just not care what happened. He at some point here I was surprised he even remember what he had to do because his transformation later just makes him he's like just testing his powers out. But at first I liked what they're showing here is how his hockey's going everywhere and his like his legs. I got another shot here somewhere, but his legs are turning all rubbery. It's almost like his knee is the way his someone else says it too. Oh, one of the Gorōsei kind of make it out that way. But it seems that when he moves around, some of his limb movements don't have to follow the rules of like how our bones can't even. So like his elbow later won't even be bending, and his legs don't seem to be bending normally. They look kind of like tentacles, loosely speaking. They're just bowed very fluidly rather than bending at the knee. Yeah, there's the others when they realize. Oh, this shot too. I love this shot with all the Conqueror's hockey that Luffy's exuding is just blowing off the place. And you got Zunisha here to the right with Momo. Momo with Zunisha. Momo with uh, Yamato watching this as this happens up there. I like that keeping their distance too, but at the same, I also just realized too they're watching this, and if they're doing this, that means that the Onigashima could be floating back toward the capital, so they're gonna have to get back to work on that. So yeah, we continue here at Luffy transforming, and with his final part here, he starts turning real demonic here. I like it. It's almost like the Super Saiyan, and some other people have pointed out the sound effects are the same. I'll have to go back and look. But he's got this aura flowing off of him. He's got this white lightning that keeps showing up too, intermittent, mixing with the red one. And let's bring this back a little more so it's not there. Well, intermingling with the red one a lot here, and I don't know if that's just something from his transformation and not the red and orange, because I think the red and orange is supposed to be the Congress hockey stuff, because they show that with Kaido too, and I don't think anyone else had the yellow. So yeah, he starts changing here, and he becomes very demonic. It's just very interesting again to see how he's like as I brought up that he could become a danger to others later because he's so maniacal almost. Oh, and I brought this shot up because throughout this episode they kind of hide his eyes until later, but I caught this in the transformation. I was able to pause here and you can see his eyes a little bit, and he's got that curly white eyebrows. It's kind of like a cloud look or something. And his eyes are pink now, and they'll show it better later. But they show that here in the transformation. This is where he finishes off his transformation, and he just starts destroying everything around him. Hopefully, when he transforms later, it's not. If he transforms into this later times, he doesn't have to always do this. I doubt it, because then again, he'd have to be careful of others around him. Then we get a good shot here of a lot of the other allies and his friends, seeing that realizing Luffy's transformation, and I'm thinking, I think Versace's probably his observation hockey. I think his is probably. I wonder if his is better than Luffy's. I know Luffy got really good at it when he fought Katakuri, but I don't know. I can't remember how good Sanji's is, but I think that's the observation hockey in here. I think Viola's like the one who's shown to be one of the best in this series too. They can like sense what other things are happening, kind of like the how they have it in a lot of like Dragon Ball Z and Bleach, where they can sense powers or the presence and other beings, and 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 that method in Dragon Ball and Bleach, it's always how you can ascertain this overall strength of someone with that as well. Sometimes just strength, because that was something too. That was always something neat with Dragon Ball Z. The strength when Trunks had to fight Cell, he powered up more, but he lost speed. And like when Cell's powering up, it's like you can't really tell their speed, can you? It's like, can you tell this if the power always goes up? It doesn't mean their speed always does, especially if you're going into a bulky form. I guess that was kind of the tell. So yeah, then we start seeing that yellow and red lightning, the black red lightning traveling around. And at this point, it's like actually in this early part of the episode, it was funny. It doesn't seem that Kaido has realized yet, but everyone else says. Kaido's kind of like still using his Boro breath to uh try and take out the riffraff on the ground there. But the others are almost it, including this what's his name again? Higoro, Marco, and of course they. And this was cute because I had to catch this one because these two look like they're animated by the same person. You, they're just so relieved when they hear that Luffy's alive. Especially that was just cute. And here, especially here, they really emphasize this one point here with this scene of Luffy. He looks kind of like I'm trying to think. He reminds me of something from oh, what other show is that? Was that like Alta Helsing or something? Maybe that's a Helsing where they got that Alucard. No, who's that guy's name in Helsing? And he just all demonic in there. And then Luffy's just got a look that reminds me of that. And then we get this great shot here of him parting the sky with the Conqueror's hockey to clear it up. Oh yeah, I had some of these great screens. If you slow down some of this episode, you really have to. You catch a lot of little things. I got some others later I saw where they really show some neat stuff that I'll say. But we really see the spot where he. There were some others with this, but I couldn't catch them all. Where they just parts the sky. So then we we have some great back shots here. So yeah, now we see the Gorōsei, and I just noticed they had his old his probably his current what does that read by his thumb? Can't see it. His current bounty and such. And they're talking about how they're worried that they're pissing off Kaido will make things harder for them, and that they lost one of the best agents. But the Saint Saturn, as we know him now, points out like, no, we have to do this in order to take out Luffy, because if since we know he has Joy Boy's fruit, that he's going to be even more of a problem. I think what they're pointing out here too. This is interesting because like their main enemy at this point are like the Yonko, but especially Blackbeard, and I'm sure they know it, as well as Dragon and the Revolutionary Army. But what they don't say here, but I'm sure they are implying, is that by having Joy Boy back. Wait a minute, what's wrong with my ear? By having Joy Boy come back, I'm sure they mean they are concerned that he will become the spark of a greater revolution, a thing that will overturn their reign over the world. This is why they need to get rid of him. They're seeing him as the biggest threat of all, even greater than like Dragon and his revolutionary army. I'm guessing. So Saturn and the others are like, because this guy here, I don't have his name up again. The guy with the mustache, he's the one who seems concerned, was upset with what they did. But these other ones, the other three, especially here, the other older gentlemen, they especially are like justifying, like, no, this was necessary. We have to do this. Also, and then there's this neat shot here too. They start showing like his shadow travel bigger. I didn't catch it in last motion, but this is great how he's it's like casting a long shadow. I'm not sure what the symbolism is supposed to be, but it's really interesting. Uh, and then I love the shot of Gamu Gamu no Mi. Or now we know no. The human model. How do they call that in Japanese? I'll look later. Oh, and then there's one more. These other last shots of his eyes changing, and this one right here. It kind of reminds me of Zoro, not Zoro. Sorry, Mihawk's. A little bit with this twirliness stuff, and very interesting how he does that. He's doing that. Uh, then we got the shot here. Oh, what's going on? Oh, it's just let me turn my phone off. So I got this great shot of his flames there too. So he's running here, and this is where he jumps in front of the sun or the moon, and they just show it in the light. I love this shot too. I think this was this in the manga? I love this shot. It's one of my favorites here, where he shows that his eyes are not shown, but the hair looks really cool. Is that shown there? No. Let me see. No, I think this is only in this. Why was I thinking? I must have saw it in the teaser trailer. Then there's another great shot with his flames. And then we get the smile. He's smiling all the time now here. Oh, here's the bending knee part. I wanted, like his leg doesn't look like it's conformed to the knee anymore. Everything's like all his bones and everything are rubber. He's still like technically. Oh, there's that shot too. There's still technically like he's conforming to how he has to stand and walk, but he can flow his limbs around in particular way differently. Like just imagine, I'm imagining with this, like what if someone else ate this fruit, like Hachi. Does Hachi have extra arms? I'm thinking of like a fish man or that octopus we saw, the one in Fishman Island. Something with extra limbs and the kind of wacky stuff they could do if they had this fruit and awakened it. Uh, yeah, so just his arms are just so fluidly different here. Also, look, this is one of the things I was catching. Every time they have some of these shots in here where he pulls away, and they did something with Kaido later, you see these little after effects in here if you slow it down. And now Luffy's here. This is where he starts like testing his powers. He's like jumping around, spinning. There's some neat little shots where he looks really wild here. There's his eyes again. Yeah, so there. So also, I'm not going to go over much here. I'm skipping over the part. This only other spot we really skipped the scene in here in this episode is really what happens with Hiyori and Rochi, and I'll just go over that briefly because that is a nice way to interlace this with this. Because this Rochi's the other main threat in this um, um, arc because he's the one effectively ruling Wano and having a contingent of people, reigning this terror under Kaido's rule. And it's nice to show him put it side by side with what Luffy's doing to stop Kaido. So she's there facing off against him and finally getting like her retribution, her revenge against this guy for doing what he did with her father. And she goes over that quite thoroughly with him and points out like you didn't keep your word, so you're not worthy of being saved if you can't do that. Because she even ends up later saying, my family always keeps their promises." Um, uh, so I like how they're putting that side by side. So she really lets out her anger of what happened because she spent the last 20 years having to hide from him. Momo's been hiding from this because him and Kinemon made it out to Punk Hazard, and then why did they end up going that way? I forget. So they were hiding by having Momosuke was hiding himself by pretending to be Kinemon's son and not revealing his true clan name. Because they knew Jack. Well, it'd be Kaido would be sending people out looking for him, and if Doflamingo would find out, I'm sure he would have realized. Maybe he wouldn't know. No, he would know a bit about that. He's working with Kaido. That's something too. We never got an exchange of conversation between Kaido and Doflamingo, did we? But we knew they were working together because he was creating the smiles there, then sending them to Kaido. Wait, what is over here? So then there's that other. This is the part now. Now we get the part where Kaido can finally starting to realize something's going on up there. Oh, and Luffy too. One last thing, Luffy here before I go up to the fight. Luffy here. This is great. Where Luffy's like talks about oh, he talks about oh yeah, that's too far. He talks about how he can do anything he wants now, which is something they kind of point out later. And this is a video I've been wanting to make, but I've been trying to look up all the Luffy's. I want to go back to some of Luffy's fights and go write down all his unique attacks. Well, I can find them on a wiki, but I want to like get some images of him to show. But Luffy really starts talking about how he can like. What I want to get at is how Luffy can throughout the series he's been creating these attacks utilizing the rubberiness of his power, starting with like a simple stuff like his gum gum pistol, which is just a way he stretches his arm back and flings it forward, and that velocity adds power to a punch. And then he did the same. He has the bazooka where he uses two hands, and the whip where he kicks, and then I think he's got the what's he call that kick when he kicks up, takes out Arlong with it with a battle axe. I think he tried to use that against Crocodile too. So he uses these creative attacks, and then he had my favorite one he did, which I think was something that kind of hinted at this Gear 5. An early attack is when he fights that Buggy's subordinate. I think his name is Richie, and he's got that. It's Richie the lion. He's got that guy who's the first mate or second mate, and he's got the lion, and Luffy twirls his arms together and then flings the the lion into the ground like a wrestling move, just pummels him. And that one was like quite different as far as the rubbery properties. Kind of reminds me of how Kaido was pointing out before, like when he zigzags his arms in Gear 4th Snake Man, it's very different than what actual rubber would be like. So, yeah, I like how Luffy's pointing out now I can pretty much do anything I want. So clearly, Luffy has had the imagination to do some of this stuff before, and now he couldn't do it. But now that he's awakened it, he starts throwing out all these wacky stuff that we'll get to momentarily here. uh, the first of which actually I want to go to the show here now. The first is what I noticed here. My favorite thing of this episode is I didn't really think of this. Did I? Well, maybe I did back when I reviewed these chapters. Is how he utilizes some techniques in here where he's basically using his gears without activating them separately. Now they're all incorporated now into his awakening. The first of which right here is he does a muscle balloon. Not muscle balloon. That's when he transforms into Gear 4th. The Gear 3rd, the giant fist. What's he call that attack with it? I forget the name of the attack now. But he starts filling up his arm here with air, increasing the size again. Also, he doesn't use, like, as far as I can tell, they don't show it, but I'm wondering if he's still able to use like armor hockey with this form, or does he not have to now? Because, well, he probably would against a Logia. I'd be interested to see if he fights a Kainu, how that would work. So, because he uses some other attacks later where I thought he would be using armament hockey, and he does not. Like this fist too, he doesn't use this. He fills up his arm. He's not going to use the punch yet, but so this shot was great. He just starts using his Gear 3rd attack, but he uses it this time to grab Kaido, and this is so great. This is where it starts throwing the cartoony stuff too, because he and Kaido's look, I must say, I really enjoyed seeing how Kaido's like, what the hell is going on? And this I like this scene because now Luffy's like reeling him in. Essentially, he just starts having his arm retract. It's almost like it's a rubber fishing pole with his hands the hook, and he just pulls Kaido up forcibly. And Kaido is huge. Kaido, what is he? If you go back to when he was in that town, you can see him and what do you call it? He's when Kaido's floating over that town, he must be like 2 miles long. I'm gonna guess his body length. I'm gonna go with that. See, yeah, it has to be like 2 miles long. and Luffy's just reeling up. Just imagine how heavy that means his body is. And Luffy's with his strength here, he is just easily pulling Kaido up to the back to the roof. And this is the next a little bit too. They get this cartoony stuff happening even to Kaido now as he gets pulled up. His eyes are left behind here. And this is just the first to come of all the little cartoony stuff this episode did, which is just see. So gets Kaido up there. Oh, and here we go. Next thing he does, he basically does a Gear 4th type thing. He buffs up here, and that's where also where he didn't use hockey. He just can buff himself up now. Because that was something with Gear 4th, right? He buffs up, but he always does it with the hockey coding, and I was like, did the hockey help him hold that form? That's always how I understood it. But he doesn't need that now, apparently, because he just buffs up here very quickly. And this transformation is like 5 seconds. He just goes up and then comes over to pummel Kaido with it. And this is too where I was thinking like it's funny he didn't have to use his hockey to here because earlier he tried using when he first fought Kaido. He didn't have the advanced armor and hockey yet, so he uses his Gear 3rd attack and punches Kaido in dragon form, but it knocks him down temporarily. And then tries his Kongan organ or something like that in Gear 4th, and when he does that, he does not fully really affect Kaido in those 2 instances in that fight back at the Bakoro town. But now he's just I'm guessing this is because what we clearly have here is like a Toon Force, people are calling it, that Luffy's power is, and he can impart it into other stuff around him. Like we just saw the ground turn into a trampoline underneath him. And then here he's gonna punch Kaido, and I'm thinking Kaido's defenses are being negated by he must be exuding like an aura around him essentially that we can't see. Luffy is, and he's gonna sock Kaido here a couple times. Like we got this punch and then a couple others he did. He kind of jabs at him. Some quick attacks. And starts making Kaido dizzy easily from this, like, what is that, 5 punches maybe? Oh, and there's the eyeballs again. After he punches him away. Oh my god. And then he starts, and this is too where, like, Luffy's really, like, acting as Luffy does, but on like, adrenaline, where he's, moving around so fast that Kaido, especially in this dragon form, just can't react fast enough. He's really in a handicap here, not using his hybrid form to fight Luffy. And Luffy here proceeds to I love these looks with his grin. I caught a couple as I could before they do a good one at the end, but I wanted to catch these others. And Luffy proceeds to stay in that hulking form, his bounce man form. I'm just gonna call it his now it says Gear 5 bounce man. You guess you could call it, because he does do that. He bounces a lot in here like that, but now he's got control of it. When he was bounce man, he had a very hard time controlling it. Like he after he knocked around Doppelganger, he was like bouncing on his back and had a hard time getting up. That's when he had to use that elasticity thing. He was like popping his feet around like he looked like a big. He always, and when he did that when he's flying around and Bounce Man, he reminded me of the Hulk Buster suit of Iron Man's and how it moves around, but because it's such a big bulky form. And then when he does that thing with his man, I can't get the camera right. Does that thing with his fist? He's retracting it. It just reminded me of, like, because Iron Man had a thing like that. Especially, I don't know if that was in the. I'm only really seen it in the. Well, I saw the years ago I saw the Iron Man cartoon. I think Hulk Buster Armor was in there, but in the movie, The Age of Ultron, he's got that special arm that retracts that he uses to try and quickly knock out Hulk. And anyways, yeah, he's got his bounce man form here, and he starts pummeling Kaido on the ground. And this is the other shot too. This shot too, he at one point his feet got moving around, like reminding me of Gear 2nd, So I don't know if he's like pumping himself up there. Well, actually, no. That's probably what's happening, right? He's That's another thing. His gear second, he activated it, and his body would turn red, probably because it was normal size, and he was able to move faster. I'm guessing, right? The gear 5 is basically like that, turned on all the time, and he just doesn't turn red anymore. But I thought that shot was neat, where you can't see the movement, but you caught the screen here, where he's I think at this point he's like he's absorbing the weight of Kaido, and he's starting to fling him around. So then it just funnels through his body because it's rubber, it's absorbing any damage, and and he just starts swinging Kaido around here, and Kaido wakes up with this big the bump on his head and stars and swirly eyes. By the way, the coloring in these shots too are amazing. Like in the beginning, I wonder if there's like a couple different teams working on this. In the beginning, when he's transforming, the artwork reminded me of King and Zoro's fight from about 10 episodes ago. And then they got this fight here where the wacky stuff's going on. And this looks a little like, and the coloration and artwork is, of course, it's different. It's not solid looking. The other stuff is like angular, and that shot where he first destroyed all the Luffy's destroying all the bricks. Not bricks. He's destroying the ground around him, and they all turn into cubes and such. This was like quite a bit different look from this, but both amazing in their own way. Again, Luffy here keeps demonstrating how he's finding everything funny. So again, this is something I made a video about this. I think other people are starting to realize this now that I don't know if I was ahead of curve on that one, but I got a video out last year right after the chapter where I demonstrated how much Luffy reminds me of The Mask, the movie with Jim Carrey from 1994, where he dons on a mask that's made by the god Loki, and it allows him to, at night anyways, become an immortal thing that just does all this wacky stuff. This reminds me of it more here because of his inability to be serious here. So this is funny. I think something here that's an interesting dynamic too is how when he's fighting Kaido before, his two other fights here now, actually like three, when you count all of his fights, Luffy is very serious about fighting Kaido because he sees what Kaido is doing to the people of Wano, and so he's just grit. He's just the same way he was with Doflamingo, for example, too. Like I'm gonna stop you because you are harming people, and he's very angry at his opponent. Now he's like a 180 here. He's finding everything funny, and I don't think he even realizes how. I wonder, like when he transforms back, will he like reflect a little bit on like, whoa, I could be why was I laughing at everything like that? It was like I was fighting a serious enemy that would have if I failed, would enslave all my friends. So anyways, yeah, he finds it. He's here, just laughing. And again, look at his legs are just rolling here. The bend isn't like a normal knee, too. So he's laughing at everything that's going on, and just enjoying the fight. And I think Kaido in this point too, especially toward the end of this episode or slash chapter, he really is like enjoying that Luffy's like this too, because he wants someone to. Because he said earlier, it was a few episodes ago, a few chapters, he's having a big drink, and he points out to Luffy like, well, tonight we were gonna have a festival here, and you guys ruined it, so I want to have some fun. And he has like a big wooden mug thing, and he's guzzling down sake or something. It didn't look like beer, some kind of alcohol. And so I think he kind of enjoying that Luffy's like this, because now it's like someone's having fun with him because he wants to have a fun fight, and now Luffy's basically the same way. So oh yeah, this shot. This is when Kaido cares to do a burrow breath, and this shot was amazing. Look at the eyes. It's just like in The Mask. In The Mask, his landlord confronts him after he's when he's sneaking around the hallway, and she tries to shoot him with a gun, and his eyes do this too. And I think he even got the same number of things. 1, 2, 3. It's definitely this reminiscent of that. And he yeah, this shot too is funny. What's going on with his hand there? So Luffy here, and in order to, and this shot was done a little funny. It took me a few re-watches to see this. So what he does here to block the Boro breath is he pulls up the ground into a curve. Oh, can't get my mic. And he curves the ground. I'll show you here, and he uh he deflects the Boro breath back. And actually, I like this how they did that here too, because they show it that it took some effort to do it. So first he starts pulling it up here, and true to the rubber, here's the back of the wall he just created. The Boro breath here goes right through it. Not is not through it. It's being caught and it's pulling back on the elastic ground, and Luffy has to actually go back into his bounce man form here, the muscles here, to in order to because it's trying to it's trying to still go the other way, the Boro breath attack, the fireball I should just call it, and Luffy's able to force it back. And this other artwork here, this here looks like a watercolor painting. It's just amazing. When this is probably like the first time anyone's ever deflected one of his attacks like this. I'm surprised if he ever fought Big Mom or somebody they didn't do this. He deflects it perfectly back, and just Luffy just sits there watching. This shot is great. And then there's this other black and white art as the fire attack's destroying him, not destroying him, hurting him, and it's like this explosion is amazing. Wait, is that Luffy there? Yeah, Luffy's off to the right. That's right. This is from Luffy's view, and this explosion is just the shot here. I like this too because they still have kept some of these shots I saw in earlier episodes. Momonosuke is right here in the lower right. It's off to the below the horn of the skull, and there were some shots I recall where you didn't see Zunisha. I keep saying Zunisha. When I say that, I might be meaning Momonosuke, where Momonosuke is there watching still. So there were some shots where I didn't show him at all, and I was like, that looked kind of weird because he's supposed to be always present. Some did and some didn't. So this color here too. This is that weird tone that we've been seeing with this fight. That even though it's red, it's like it looks like a film is over this that makes this weird. I don't know what you call it. And Kaido, this is great. Kaido's all suited up, suit from his Boro breath. And by the way, I just noticed his horns. Anyone who's played Tears of the Kingdom and those horns, I want to look at those now, compare them to Demon Dragon, Ganon's Demon Dragon form. That's kind of cool. So then Luffy's here. I love the shot. They're still not showing his face fully yet. They keep kind of hiding it. And then there's this shot which leads up to his Gear 5 look. Oh yeah, there's the wall. And then you do this neat little thing here. I got these 5 images. They show the Gear 5, they do this special title card thing, kind of like they did with Snake Man 200 episodes ago. I don't think I got the whole thing though, but then we get to this part here where Kaido's like, hey, I'm glad you're still alive, because I didn't like that you I finished you off before due to outside interference. Actually, it just reminds me of if I used to watch the WWE wrestling, and there were always sometimes they always had incidents in those episodes where somebody's having a big match, and then somebody comes in and distracts the fight so someone else can win. It's classic in that they'll sometimes there'll be 2 people, and one will distract the referee, and then they'll have another person. Usually, what's about to happen is the one who's the good guy is about to win, and so someone then distracts that guy so that the bad guy can recover. Once the ref is back watching, the bad guy gets the win, can knock out the other guy. And Kaido, for all his terrible faults, he doesn't want that kind of outside interference. He hates that. one little admirable thing about him that I know I brought up before, but it just reminded me of how in the wrestling matches, the bad guy usually in there like doesn't care if they win like that often because they just want to have the it's usually like a title thing where they want the belt and they don't care. So what is that spot here? Right. Yeah. So I don't have any images, but they do a little flashback where he's talking about how they remind us what happened with the how the other guy uh the Cypher Pole agent interfered, and he apologizes to that guy. Kaido apologizes to Luffy about that guy interfering, and uh, yeah. Let me see here. Just check that a second. Also, there's a spot here I couldn't capture. They show all these little images. I should go back first. Did he show all these little images of Luffy's past fights? Like I was trying to say earlier, how all his techniques make more sense. They showed some little quick montage of Luffy fighting all kinds of people like Lucci and Doflamingo and even Captain Morgan. I think they showed in there. It was very fast, so I wasn't quite sure. And I want to go through that later afterwards, see how many they showed there. If it blazing fast. So yeah, so Luffy here. Finally, we get a great look at Luffy's face here. I love this look. This is so maniacal, but it's so like awesome. I don't know. It's just I love it. I would love to see how this would work against his powers would work against Katakuri now. I think he would win against Katakuri easily with this form now because I feel like he could somehow. This is how I'm wanting to work with like other Logias because Katakuri is not really a Logia. He's kind of like a separate, similar thing where he can like the elemental stuff coming after him. He could like once it got in his range, and he's probably like again got this invisible bubble of an aura that he can turn stuff into rubber, and it would negate those attacks. I think, especially like the mochi of Katakuri, and I don't know how that would work with Kuza. Kuza would be interesting because he freezes everything. I'm not sure how Luffy could stop that one still in this form, but I'm sure he'd be a much better advantage in this form than using any of his Gear Fourth against Kuzan. But it'd be really interesting now to see how it happens with him with Muchi powers because he can like because Katakuri is awakened also, and I think he was like I gotta go back and look at the fight, but he was like turning the ground and everything into the Muchi, and then if it got in range of Luffy, he would probably just like it would become rubber then, and then it wouldn't be able to like get underneath. I don't think anyone using powers like that could use stuff to get underneath Luffy because he could just turn the ground around him, keep it permanently rubber. So as long as it's like his hot, I think there might be. I wonder if Haki would have anything to do with that. The strength one's Haki, because there is something to that too. We find out later in the Egghead arc from Law that if someone has some other effect on you and your Haki strong enough, you can negate it. So I'm wondering if like I think that would be the conditions. I imagine that would be the conditions, especially with Luffy's versus the Logia trying to turn the ground into an element where once it got onto his range, it would just become rubber and it wouldn't matter. So he could just step on the probably just step. Well, I don't know if he'd want to with lava, something like Kainu, because it might be still hot. That'd be an interesting conundrum thing to see too. I should say. Uh, so where was I with that? Yeah, Luffy here just doesn't is not doesn't let me play here on this. I can look again. I gotta remember where I am with the plot. Luffy's like, don't worry about it. Let's just finish this. That's basically what I think we're almost at the end too. Let me look on the episode over here. Then they do this little recap of their fight there, but I'm not sure. That they just had a little filler with two recaps like that. And then Luffy does this great little thing where he comes down. I love this part. He drops down. Oh, I didn't get the part where he drops down. He like jumps down from the wall. He kind of fell flat in his face. Actually, it's funny. And then we get this spot here where I have on the screen where he's spinning his feet in the air and running. He runs over toward where Kaido is. We get this great setup where they're looking at each other here. Again, look at his arms. He got that what's those cartoons from? Those old cartoons. The tubular. I don't know. There's some name for it. I forgot. And he's this shot. I think this is the last shot too of him this is the best part here. Is that the same as the other one? Kind of the same. He does that with his hand there. No, it's a little different. And then he just has it. They had this final look showdown with the two. I think that's it. Yeah, and that's it. So we end this with the two of them facing off like that, and you really get a great shot of his eyes. And I noticed also, I just noticed actually, his hat did not change, did it? That's like the only thing I think that didn't change. Let me go back there. Is this hat changing it out? No, it's still that normal there. Let me go back. Yeah. Yeah, when he's jumping around earlier too, he he is not his head does not have, it's not affected the way his clothes are. Wait, no, this his sash is purple. What was his sash like earlier? Let me see. Oh, yeah, and the sash didn't change either. Only his pants and shirt, which are, what color were they? Red shirt, I think he had, right? And what was the color pants he was wearing? Yellow? Wasn't he wearing like a yellow? I think so, yellow orange. So that is the only two things that changed here. I didn't realize that with the hat. Um, yeah. So God damn, that was a good episode. I just love this whole fight. Everything they showed here, and this is just the first part. We got like he's gonna have more stuff going on in the next part, which is like I know at one point he like punches Kaido and his fist like turns Kaido's body into like rubber, and his fist just comes out the other. It's like the fist is the whole thing is a thing. God, I don't know. It's just amazing. So anyways, yeah, this was just an awesome episode. I was just blown away by everything they did here. Even the part that I didn't go over much with Hiyori and Kozuki. Not Kozuki. That's her last name. Excuse me. Orochi is good. Especially, it's very satisfying when that demon blob thing that Yamato stopped. I don't know who sent that again. Um, it's very satisfying when it starts burning Orochi, and we get finally she finally gets to scream her lungs out at him. It was just so satisfying to have her let out all the pain that he caused her. That's right, he's a mythical zone too, right? Orochi, that's the other guy I was thinking of. But he just has like multiple heads. So he probably wouldn't have any special abilities if him or Kaido. I don't know. We still don't know for sure Kaido's awakened either. I wonder if people say. I think people are assuming he is because of his strength, but I'm not convinced yet. I kind of want them not to be, because then he could come back and have one more fight. Like that's another thing too with this is Luffy calls this his peak, but even with this being his peak, I still feel like he can train more and get better at this in a way where, because he's got to fight Black. He awakened this now against Kaido, which is a great opponent, but it's not. Now we got Eam and Blackbeard, and we don't know how that's gonna play out. We know it's fairly certain Luffy's gonna fight Blackbeard. So I just feel like Blackbeard's gonna have something else up his sleeve that's gonna make it hard for Luffy, even with this power up, to fight him. Especially with him having Blackbeard having Kaido's, Whitebeard's fruit. I don't know how Luffy can counter something like that. And then the darkness, I don't know how darkness and his rubber abilities, I think they're gonna clash and negate each other. It's freedom versus this negation. I brought that before. This is something I'm not sure how that'll play out. So I'm just hoping that Oda's. I'm trying to think of something that would be cool to have Luffy still achieve somehow at the end. That would be the thing that will help him fight Kaido. I mean, not Kaido. Okay. Blackbeard, because it's just again Devil Fruit negation powers, and it would be just cool to have Luffy have something else happen. Something else. I don't know. I can't think of what, but I think I'll just end this video here now, the stream, and upload this. Oh God, we have to wait till next 6 more days now to the next episode. It's gonna be a long wait. Anything else? Yeah. So I think I brought everything. Also, actually, it's also something interesting because Luffy's a D Clan member. I wonder if that someone else had gained this who wasn't a D Clan member would be laughing as much, because Luffy naturally is a very happy, outgoing, and like charismatic, and no, what I'm looking for is optimistic kind of person. So him laughing like this, I'm just thinking if someone else was like had no sense of humor, was very dour, would they still be able to laugh like this if they had this power? I'm sure some maniacal person, because sometimes you got people like the Joker who are laugh in their ability to torment people would be, they'd become extra evil or something like this, laughably evil. But uh, it's just wondering if there's only this thing that maybe that's it. Maybe this is a kind of fruit because the Gorōsei talk about how it has been evading them. Maybe it's something that uh seeks out a member of the D clan to eat him, to eat it and gain its essence. Oh, and another thing too that I was thinking about earlier is Shanks. I wonder if Shanks really knew what this fruit was. I wonder if I said that before. Shanks got this fruit from Who's Who. Clearly, the government knew what it was then. I wonder where they found it too. That's a few questions. One, they said they've been looking for the fruit for 800 years. Where has it been hiding? Have other people used it? They only stated for sure that it hasn't awakened since the Joy Boy had it. Two, yeah, where has it been residing then, and where did Who's Who and the others collect it from? 13, is that 13 years ago? I think so. No, how many years ago was it when Luffy got it? 12 years ago, something like that. So when they got it, where did they collect it from? Where did Shanks know what it was when he got it then? Was he intending to hang on to it for something? Maybe he knew someone else who previously had it, and that's why he wanted it because it knew it needed to go back to the D clan or something. So there's some questions there with that especially with Shanks' knowledge of it, that I would love to find out some point. So yeah. Also, can Luffy use armament hockey, or is he using armament hockey with this? Because he's clearly using his conquerors. Uh, yeah. So I guess that's about it. I'll just end this here now. It's been an hour. Thanks for watching.